Hello, Aries. Welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor, and today we're going to look at these tea leaves of yours. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's get started. There's really not a lot of time to waste anymore, is there? It feels like everything has just sped up. Now, we begin this reading with the number 2. You can see it's like right in the middle, right at the core of the thing, okay? So the number 2 for me is almost always about making decisions. I know, another decision to make. Lenor, get out of here. I hear you saying it. But this is the energy. It's the energy of the plate of the leaves, and it seems to me we have, it looks like the word maybe Jeep. It looks like J-E-E, this is an uppercase E, and then a P right here, Jeep, okay? It could also be Joe or Joel. This could also be an O, but Jeep seems to be the energy. And I'm sorry about my voice. I think I have an ear infection. Okay, so we have the Tower. And we have people that seem to be fleeing. So here's the Tower right here, okay? We have people, it looks like feet, and here's maybe a person and person here, and running this way and running that way. And a sense of urgency. Now, it feels to me like this is maybe more in an existential realm. I feel like you've been kind of vacillating between your personal life. And I have to say, to me, it feels like there's a great balance in your life. I feel like you, and I'm seeing a person up here. Here's the head. Their arm is kind of out. It almost looks like they have it up, like they're, like put up your dukes, We're gonna spar together, And to me, I get the sensation of like you more than most other times in your life. I'm not going to say this is like the only time in your life, but I feel like it is one of the few times in your life where you have put a lot of effort into yourself. You have really worked at that mental aspect, the emotional aspect. That's the big thing here. It is so much about learning to live in this world and manage your reactions, your expectations, how we experience the emotions that we then feel, right? And I feel like that's where the big work is. But I also feel like there are other parts of your life where you've been like, man, things are not exactly ideal, right? And that might be the greater world. Yeah, that checks the box, right? But it also might be a moment of clarity in your life where you think, okay, maybe this is not the job for me. Maybe this is not the living dynamic for me. Maybe, I'm getting a little older and I'm slowing down a little bit. I'm pointing at myself here, right? I'm starting to really feel all that stuff that my body has carried from all the things throughout my life, and not to mention the way that I have treated myself, right? And you get to a moment where it's like, okay, so what do we do about this? How can we mitigate some of this, right? And so you get moving. You get really interested in that physical wellness aspect, whatever that looks like for you. If that just means like, oh, I really am aware I need to be drinking more water, I need more fluids. I need to, get outside, get the heart pumping, get in some air if you have, the privilege of having fresh air around you. But I feel like there really is this like dynamic of it's a dumpster fire out there. You're well aware of it. I mean, you live in it. Just like you, just like me, just like, the next person. We're all here together experiencing whatever this thing is. I don't know what it is. It has been a shift. And I have to say, like, I knew, I think we've all kind of known, right, that we were coming to an end of a cycle, or we are coming to an end of a cycle. And in the last 20 years or so, even longer than that, maybe the last 30 years or so, with the advancement in technology and interconnectedness and, just our ability to process and reconfigure information, we're in a new world, but we still have a lot of that old world stuff that is coming to light, right? There's a lot of stuff that we're starting to like snap out of and think, why were we okay with a lot of things, even just 10 years ago, culturally? I mean, and I don't, I can't speak for every culture. I only know this American culture that I live in. But things that used to seem like, oh, that's whatever, that's harmless, silly, funny, whatever, da-da-da-da-da. Not so much. There's a great awakening happening, I think. Well, I don't think I know. So, it is I don't know. I'm not going to say it's a good thing, bad thing, moral, ethical, winning, losing. I don't know what it is. It feels like a heaviness I have never felt. A darkness. I do magical work. I'm a practitioner, for sure. And I'm not... This is not, sometimes my husband's like, oh, you seem a little prideful about it. But it's not a flex to say I live a magical life. It is a place, a lifestyle that you have to look at the darkness a lot. That doesn't mean that you partake in it, but there are things that rise into your understanding that you can never understand, right? You become aware of things that, you don't want to give a lot of thought or energy, because I don't know. I do believe the more we look at something, the more alive it is, right? At the same time, as somebody who has lived a life that, and I know I'm just rambling at this point, but has lived a life that had, my childhood had things that went on that are very similar to the stuff that's being talked about, in all these files and things. And now not as formal or rich people or anything like that. But, this kind of stuff exists on all levels of society and within a lot of different dynamics. And so all of it has just been so, for not just myself, but like all of us. And I can see in a lot of these readings that I'm doing, there is this real feeling of being sucked into the, black hole, the inverted sun, and there are certain people, and I do feel this from my heart, my deepest part of my being, and I'm not just saying this to like gas somebody up or get you to sit here longer, because, you know, God knows I don't. There are better readers than me. But I feel that you are one of these people that you will thrive through this darkness, not because you feed upon the darkness, but because you are one of the balancing forces that your people need. And that is your genetic line. And that is your family, your chosen family, your little community, the greater community around you, and so on and so on and so on, right? All the way up to the celestial. But you will be a balancing force. And you're not going to just sit by and let things happen, because I see you have been changing things in your life. And maybe it's like, you know, for me, I hit that like middle age point. I turned 40 this last summer, I think, right? Or 41. 40, I think. Feels like so long ago. And, you know, I hit that like middle age point. And got to get some things together here, son. You know, like, whew, you know, I got to get on it or I am going to be in trouble down the way. You know, and I think that happens to us, right? But I also think it's been happening to a lot of people, not because of our age or not because we're realizing, oh, I better, you know, use it or lose it kind of mentality. I feel like the universe has been pushing us forward into these pathways so that we can prepare ourselves for the new beginning. Okay. Now, there's a new beginning every day. Every moment is a new beginning or perceived as a new beginning, okay? I try to live by that, but it's not always the case. Collectively, we are in a very tricky little stretch here, you know? We're very conditioned into our systems and institutes. And, you know, I see this in my daughter a lot. My daughter is 5. We talk about it constantly. But this impulse to ask for somebody to do something for her, right? She's sitting on the couch. She's earned, you know, a really nice little segment of time to kind of hang out, do her thing. She's met her goals for the day, you know, and done the work she needs to do. You know I'm kind of a disciplined parent. I never thought I would be. I thought I'd be an absolute free-range berserker. Not the case. Again, preparing for this new world, right? And she'll be sitting there and she'll say, Mom, I'm thirsty. Mom, can you go get my... Mom, do you know where... You know, we've all heard these things. Mom, dad, brother, sister, you know, grandma, grandpa, whoever, whatever. You know, we've all heard a child asking. Well, we all have this problem. We all have this conditioning, right? We wait around for somebody to tell us, oh, yeah, it's okay. Everybody is going to be doing it. Or, oh, yeah. We're collectively deciding this is all right. So, or this is not all right. And we're going to either remain in inaction or action or whatever, right? Well, individually in our lives, this is something we're really going to have to like actively look at and continually break it down. We are on the cusp of a new era. I don't think it's just for humanity. I don't think it's just a human thing. We are on the cusp of a new time, right? And such is existence. I'm not saying that there's any particular reason, like some big thing shifted and everything. Yeah, it did shift, but that is also the natural cycle of things. So even though it's scary and it's hard and it doesn't make sense, and we're waiting for somebody to kind of, guide us a little, like, oh, I'm looking at you, you're looking at, I don't know. Did they say, I don't know. Did you hear I don't know. What do we do? Are we supposed to, is anybody else I don't know. Boy, I'm going to tell you where that's going to lead us, And now I want to emphasize every time I talk about these things, I am very, very much a person that believes that when we enact change in our personal life, in not only our interior spaces, which is like our internal, whatever your inner temple is what I like to think of it as. When we change and shift that place, we change and shift our personal life, our homes, how we live, who we communicate with, what kind of information we are sitting in, absorbing, spending time with. When we shift these things, we change the world. Now, I know I might sound like a very superstitious person, and I am. You're right. And I'm a magical thinker, and I'm an absurdist. Very much a fool. But I really believe it's the only way for a lot of us. Not everybody, right? Some people need to serve the purpose of being kind of an exterior, enacting change in this, broader material world. Okay. I don't know them people, and I'm not one of them. I'm just going to say that. I'm not going to go protest. I'm not going to, whatever. I'm just not. It's maybe when I was younger, I would have thought, no. Where I know that I can do things is in between. I can help heal myself, and I can be with people and create space for others to help heal and educate themselves and empower themselves. Same. Focused on myself as well, right? And I feel like a lot of us are understanding this without fully understanding what it means, right? So, when I talk to you about this change, I don't ever mean for anybody to go out into the world and do anything, right? I don't advocate for that usually. I advocate for us looking into ourselves and figuring out where do we need to shift some things, right? Am I, a big part of it from my perspective is we have to be more responsible for how we perceive the world and what we spend a lot of time putting energy into. Okay? Because what we feed will feed upon us and the greater us. Right? And so I know I'm going on. This is like a really rambly, I know, a lot more of my intuition kind of reading. But I just feel like, and this is, my best friend is an Aries, and I know why. There's no question. She's never put up with anything. And has always been fair. And has always, done the hard thing. And shout out to you, babe, if you're listening. I love you. I can't wait to sit on a porch with you and watch the world, hopefully grow into something more beautiful. But yeah, I feel like this is the Aries energy. We need you in our lives. We all need an Aries. Joey, look, it looks like Joey. 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 Do you know a Joey? I used to have a dog named Joey. I lived up near Lake Tahoe, South Lake Tahoe, between there and Placerville somewhere. And I had a dog. He was a Rottweiler. One of our neighbors put him down because they didn't like him running around on the, up there it's the mountains, Animals will go off onto other property and stuff like that. But I still think about that babe. I love that dog. Okay, so we have the letter R. And we have it looks like JJ. We have a person sitting. And I feel a real sense of, and look at this, an older person. You can see the side profile. Here's the nose, the eye. Reminds me of like a forest witch or something, a crone, which everybody's afraid of the crone because the crone knows. And she's going to tell you. She's not going to go tell everybody else, but she'll tell you. She sees you. She looks at you. She was not going to, you know what I mean? She's going to go toe-to-toe with you, stand on all 10 toes. You know what I mean? That's why people don't like the crone. Also, holders of most sacred information, usually a lot about women's health. Okay? But we have her pointing. We have a person sitting. I feel like there's also this need, right? And I know you're good at this. So, take it just as a reminder. To make sure that you're fortifying yourself, that you're grounding yourself, you're getting centered, when you go down the rabbit hole, make sure you have your snacks that you need, that you're, not skipping meals. You're not so stressed out that you don't know what to do with yourself. I've heard a lot in the news recently. I haven't heard a lot about how most families can't afford their groceries. You know what I'm saying? So, I know there's a lot of stress on all levels. We're being pulled in so many directions, and it's hard to understand. I just keep getting this I keep getting this place in my head where I'm like, how did I get here? How did we get here? I know logically, you know what I'm saying? I know, and I have known. So have most of you. I imagine the kinds of people that are watching my readings and still in 20 minutes later, you probably have done a little bit of investigating, a little bit of, maybe you went down some conspiracy rabbit holes, or maybe you're somebody like me who's been, I'm 40, so, I don't know. One of the first dudes I ever got into was, Robert Anton Wilson. Back in the late 90s, I was a teenager, maybe even before, because I listened to Coast and lived in Northern California, and I was around a lot of weird people. You know what I mean? A lot of conspiracy type people. Now, when you go up, I used to camp up near Shasta a lot, Shasta and Lawson, and you go up into the woods up there, you go up into the mountains up there. That's where people go to get lost, or that's what we used to say when I was a kid, right? That's where people go when you get lost. You didn't know people's names a lot of times. You knew their nicknames, you knew kind of like, a little bit of their story. But it was a weird, bizarro place. Plus, shout out to Shasta, is the most magical vortex in the whole universe. I'm not biased or anything, but I've spent a lot of time beside her. And I don't know where I'm going with it, besides, like, we've been talking about this kind of stuff for years. And I guess a huge part of me always kind of scoffed at it, kind of like, like David like, when's that fool gonna be like vindicated? You know what I'm saying? That we're like one step away from something like that coming up, right? If you know who David Icke is, or some people call him David Icke or Ike or whatever. It's kind of the tongue-in-cheek, whatever, all hail Pindar, whatever, and fast forward to, whatever year it is, whatever year they say it is, and I don't know, man, the threads are getting a little loose, I guess. It's all happening, baby. And I don't mind telling you, I'm scared. I am scared. But again, that's where I turn in, and that's where we turn in. We turn in and we do the work. We find our power within the systems that we have built, which are self, right? And we are usually, if you have the right knowledge and tools and understanding and hopefully wisdom, you can alter that system through refinement, okay? And that's, there's no one way to do that. In fact, there are so many ways. One thing I want to, and I don't know if there's any, I have to say, I'm going to mention this, and I'm going to say I did not look if there were any scandals about the author or the system or anything like that. So if it's something, put it in the comments. But I've been rereading Psycho-Cybernetics, which is a book. It's based on cybernetics, and I'm not going to go into it greatly because, I'm a novice at best. And also I'm not a psychologist or anything in mental health, so I don't want to talk too much about that stuff. But, there are ways. There's so many ways. And I believe, when we combine those methods, the techniques, both ancient and some things, more contemporary, we can definitely alter our systems. And so, I don't know. I am of the strong belief that this is how we will enact change. So anyways, we have a person, it looks like, that is dancing out in the desert. Okay. So we also have, it looks like some kind of animal, maybe like a mouse or something like this. And it feels to me very much like being in that openly spiritual landscape. It feels open and arid, maybe even like it, some different planet. You're like on the face of Mars or something, right? And so I see you kind of really, some people will say, I'm in the wilderness. I'm in the dark night of the soul. They liken these things together. Now, for me, to be in the wilderness is to be really stripped of a lot of stimuli, to go into self, to maybe go into that hermit mode, go into that kind of, living as like a a holy person, somebody who is detached from, the cycles of modern society and other people and so on and so forth. And that's like a punishment. I think a lot of people think of this as like, this is bad. I feel alone and I'm scared and I'm in this place where there's nothing basically. And I don't know what to do with myself. Right. And, if you've gone through some of these seasons, which you'll have more than one usually, if you're a thinking person anyways, and I think that anyways for myself, I experience these moments of being in that spiritual wilderness as kind of a reset, right? It is scary. It is, it makes you feel like your power's been taken away. Anything that you spent time with, really meticulously building, and then all of a sudden it's just blown away by this, like, these simple truths of, and I don't think it's truth, but these simple understandings of the universe. Right? Things that we just can't necessarily change. But what we can do when we are in these spaces that feel like we are in the wilderness, that we are left out to our own, devices, that it feels like maybe the divine has forsaken us, right? This is where there is endless potential. This is where we are brave. This is where we really start looking at stuff and say, okay, this hurts. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't know who to ask for help. Right? And we have to be in it. And some people survive that and some people don't. And that's the truth of it. And I don't mean like they literally can't live through it. But yeah, some people get lost in that for decades, for the rest of their life even, right? And then there are people who walk through it, walk through that valley, walk through the shadows, walk through, that unknowing and keep going. Keeping the faith, whatever that faith is for you. So I see you dancing in that. Now, I also see that we have the sleeping, we have a element of softness of the universe, kind of really, I feel like, offering you kind of a safe harbor. Okay, maybe not forever, maybe just in this moment. But I do feel a blessing coming your way, okay? I do feel something. It reminds me of, like a Christmas story type thing where there's a little mouse all curled up and happy and warm and fed and, and that's what it feels like, and that's all we can really ask for when things are how they are. So anyways, let's do our lucky numbers and then we're going to get out of here. 23 as the first lucky number. 74. And 62. All right. Well, Aries, I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you for spending this time with me. It is always such a pleasure. If you'd like to subscribe, or leave a comment, it really helps the channel. Other than that, again, I want to tell you I love you. We'll talk soon.